Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview here on PMTT. Tonight, I am joined by Tom. Tom, how are you going this evening?
Oh, really good, thanks. Happy to be on.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to have you on. Now Tom attended one of our recent Gauntlet events at battle stations in Toowoomba, and not only did he manage to podium, scoring himself second, but he also managed to walk away with the best sports award. So that is each of those is a huge achievement by themselves. But to achieve both in one event is absolutely massive. So obviously Tom has figured out the secret sauce that it takes to win with grace. So we're hoping to get a bit more detail about that. But the best sports, a lot of things go into it. It could be you're running a very friendly list. It could be you're a really nice guy. It could be you're giving people exactly the type of games that they want. So let's break it down. What was the list that you took to the event?
Yeah, so I was running Blades of Khorne
Yep.
in the Skulking tribe. It's a faction I've been playing around with for a fair while now, and was being like keen to be able to give it a good run in this GHP.
Yep.
Um, I had the Grand Strat, the Slaughter of Sorcery, which ended up being quite difficult to do because everyone's running so many
Yeah.
sources wizards
Everyone,
at the moment.
yeah, everyone seems to be either all in or all out. So,
Yeah, yeah, which helped me in my second game, but we'll get to that later. Um, I was running one of the Bloodthirsters of Unfettered Fury, and I had the Argrath's King of Blades artifact on him, so ignoring the wards within three.
yep.
Then I had the Blood to Crater with the Banner of Blood, so just re-rolling my charges. I had the Realm Gore Ritualist that had the Pouch of Null Dust
Yep.
to help with those wizards casting. And then I had the Slaughter Priest as my general, and with the Prayer Killer Instinct on him.
Hmm.
And then, sorry, the Realm Gore Ritualist also had the Blood Sacrifice Prayer.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then
Okay.
Valkyria the Bloody, who I'd only really just started kind of like using after buying her just recently.
Yeah, that was the first time I've seen her on the table in I think almost ever at this point. So, what did she
Mm.
bring to the list?
It just kind of helped with securing a couple of battle tactics I found, and then also just kind of trying to keep people a little bit more honest with their deployments. Not kind of like if they redeploy deploy it a little bit wrong, and being able to just put her in the backboard and
Hmm.
then on the back a little bit, they have to go deal with her or worry about her kind of doing some shenanigans in the back. Yeah, that was like the main reason for having her in. And then she's only 140 points and she's pretty tanky with 6 wounds with a 3 up save and a 5 up ward. So it takes a little bit to kill her, which is nice.
Yeah, no, that does sound like it's a real benefit to the list. Like, so it sounds like you've gone very hero heavy. What other units did you have backing these guys up?
Yeah, so I took a 20-man block of Blood Warriors with the Gore Fists. So just a nice big kind of anvil kind of
Yep.
there. And then I had a big block of six my Skull Crushers with the axes. And then I had 2 units of Blood Reavers and then 2 Korgoraths as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't really see Korgoraths on the table much at all. Is that
Mm.
because they get the benefit in the Skullfriend tribe, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. So they'll benefit from the strikes first if they get the charges off over of an A+
Yeah.
ever
Okay.
higher. Yeah, but they also have like a nice little like turning off inspiring presence within three as well. So that
Okay.
can be quite helpful. But they're also just a nice, relatively fast unit for Khorne and only 90 points. So pretty nice thing to kind of like chuck in front of someone and tell them to kill that instead of getting into my heroes that I kind of want to keep around.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, it sounds like you've got a very kind of all-roundy list. Like you've got some of those fast threats, you've got some of the tanky, like 20 Blood Warriors. That's a pain to get through in the best of days, and the six Skull Crushers as well is huge. And then backed up by all those heroes, it sounds like you've really teched into a lot of Khorne's strengths with the flexibility, with the kind of being able to do what you need when you need it. Um,
Mm.
with the list at the moment, what kind of bad matchups, or what are the matchups you don't really want to see?
Oh, um, I guess anything that has like a lot of range, threat, damage kind of potential is quite difficult, as well as things that are very very fast and mobile, and they can kind of get around me a little bit more. I kind of found, and then anything that has like a really like two kind of like really big heroes that are hard for me to kind of kill,
Yep.
because my damage output is only in a couple units. So if I can't really get them under control, my army can kind of
Yeah. Okay.
break to that.
Yeah, it just kind of
Yeah,
hits and then doesn't kind of keep the momentum up, and you kind of lose tempo. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously you did quite well on the weekend. So round one, you got matched up against Nathan with his Stormcast. Now
Mm.
that game actually ended in a tie, which is really interesting. So give us a quick crash course through what happened in that one.
Yeah, so I can't remember the name of the battle plan. Um,
It was the ice fields. So
Ice Fields.
you take damage if you run or if you mess
Ice
up a
Fields.
charge.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of deployed fairly far back because he had a couple of dragons in his list that I was kind of worried about them getting into me too early. Fortunately, I guess I kind of expected that Nathan was going to give me first turn, which he did, and I deployed in such a way that I could actually kept Valkyria on the table so I could kind of run her up 12,
Yep.
and Korgoth auto run 6. Took took one more wound on that, which was fine.
Yep.
But it allowed me to score a first turn battle tactic in
Mm.
a kind of like a half kind of deployment zone,
Yeah.
to get out of it, to get surround and destroy, because that was the only thing I was going to be able to do. And then I pretty much just like set up for that, and then waited for him to come to me. He did very similar, with these Aether wings, and then I managed to get. He gave me first and second turn as well because he was pretty happy with where he was, and I wasn't really going to be able to get at him too well. So I just managed to get onto the three objectives again, and scored my battle tactic, which was leading to the Maelstrom.
Yep.
And then he kind of hit me back pretty hard in, well, killing Vakia, and then he kind of got onto my objective as well, with his kind of the Stormcast unit that has like the spear. It's like a javelin.
The protectors, the big he's
The,
because he was running a big block of protectors, wasn't he?
yeah, yeah, that big block of protectors. Yeah, um, they're like, yeah, I didn't really get to do too much damage to them, but they're a bit slower, so I was able to kind of like kind of stay away from them a little bit. And he ran into my Mighty Skull Crushers, and it was kind of just a bit of a brick wall hitting brick wall kind of thing. And
Yep.
we just stayed there most of the game, with those two.
Yep.
And his dragons came down my left hand side and got into my Bloodthirster, who survived on like two or three wounds from his attack. And then I was able to kill one of his dragons back in return, after that. And then that was where we actually had to, like, we called the game. That was when it all kind of finished up. But we'd kind of like rolled for priority, and I think, and I was kind of going to get it, and we talked out that, um, yeah, like he was going to score his grand. We you know talked it out that it was kind of a bit of a draw at that stage because it was quite close. There's still two turns to kind of play out, and he was nice enough to kind of just say it there, after after a few things early in the game. But yeah, it was a really really, I guess, like almost like cagey kind of match really at the start,
Mm.
and we were, yeah, kind of,
Going back and forth and kind of just grinding in the center there. So
yeah,
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 yeah, and and it is always a shame when games kind of can't be played out to completion. But
Mm,
unfortunately, it is kind of it's not an unknown situation when you've got two lists like yours that both kind of hit and stick and just are happy there just to grind out.
mm,
It can kind of get it can really bog the game down very quickly, especially because you're both rolling just so many dice for attacks, for the hit, wound, and save, and both of you have ward saves for a decent chunk of it as well. So that's it's just a lot of dice to roll, and that takes time. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah.
from what I saw of the game, it looked very close, and I definitely kind of with where like from the outside TO perspective, it I definitely kind of think a draw is a would be an accurate kind of representation for the game with where it was at.
Mm.
But yeah, it's always a shame when you can't play it out, because I'd be really interested to see how that game does play out. So
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see how his big block went if he was able to kind of like sweep through a little bit. But yeah, my Blood Warriors didn't really get to do anything in frustration, so we still had those two to kind of clash and do some stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
I'll definitely be keen to play him again. That was our second time versing each other.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. So round two was up against David with his Fire Slayers. You play him fairly regularly, don't you?
Well, you'd think so, considering we catch up a lot. But no, actually, I rarely get to play David, sadly. But yeah, such a nice player to
Mm,
play against, and it was a very fun game to kind of be able to get another game against him,
yeah.
even though we had to drive all the way to Toowoomba to do it.
It's always the way. I have a bad habit of every time I travel for a tournament, I play someone local. It doesn't matter how far I travel, it's always
Mm,
someone local that I play first up. But at least you managed to dodge him in the first round and in the second round.
yes, yeah,
But give us a quick walkthrough on what happened in that game.
yep. So that again, I've forgotten the name of the battle plan that we were playing.
That one was lines of communication because you could interrupt your opponent's command abilities in a certain phase.
Yes, yes. Oh man, and I totally got that wrong. I thought it was like the other way around, and then Dave's like, no, like I take the second turn, so I get to do stuff to you. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, great. But yeah, no. So this was one of the few times where I actually got to choose to I guess I outdropped him. I had five drops and he had 11. So he's used to not having the choice,
Yep.
but I surely wasn't. Um, so I kind of set up how I normally would, um, and because of that, I decided to just give myself first turn, even though probably would have been smarter to go second.
Sometimes you just get excited and you just want to get into it though. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I had my kind of like plan in mind, and it worked out okay. Just moving up onto the objectives to score the maximum points, but not really commit too far. And he really kind of like went heavy on one side, and just left one of the objectives to be uncontested. And so I was only able to I only needed to put a Korgoth and Blood Reavers onto that, and then the rest of my army was able to kind of go up against his,
yep,
and we kind of just like clashed in the middle with two pretty combaty armies kind of going at it.
yep,
So a lot of grind in that game as well, really.
yeah. So just
um,
another just kind of hit stick and just sit there and just grind out for the 2 hours. So
yeah, yeah, and I sillily took took a double turn when I really shouldn't have. Um, Well, like I took my priority again. Sorry, after he had gone in his turn, he had the rune or where the rune activated where it's like increases their rend,
yep.
and he was having things hitting me with neg 3 rend and neg 4 rend one turn. I was like, oh great, all right, well survived that. That's great. And then I forgot that it didn't turn off until his
Cool.
next hero phase.
Yep.
So I took the turn, and
Oh,
that really hurt.
yeah, yeah, and
um,
especially because it was also the he rolled a 6 for that for that rune as well,
Yeah,
didn't he? So it was
yeah.
the uber powered rune, and
It was overpowered. Yep,
yeah, just
yep.
an extra kind of one of your turns having to deal with that is very painful. So
Yes, yeah. So he got through those blood warriors quite quickly.
yeah,
Um, but my bloodthirster survived to his hero with the latchkey axe. He had two wounds left on him, and really should have probably killed him, but that dropped him a battle tactic,
yeah,
which
okay,
kind of like helped me a lot. Um, and then yeah, it was fortunately he is a bit of like his army is more designed towards really scoring max points in turns 4 and turns 5, um, uh, with the big rune daddy on Magmadroth.
yep.
Um, so I was able to kind of slow his Magmadroth down by just throwing a really cheap unit of Blood Reavers into him with Murderlust, and kind of boxed him out with my Hex Gorgeous Skulls as well. Even though they weren't really doing anything for me other than that, they kind of just like kept him off the objective a little bit.
Well, that's it, and that's a perfect example of kind of knowing that you're not going to get the use out of them in their normal sense, but you can just use them just to body block and kind of switching tactics on the fly to use what you've got to the best effect.
Yeah, yeah. So I fortunately was able to score my grand strategy for the one
Yep.
and only time in the tournament. So I had to kill the wizards, and he has no wizards, so
Yeah.
that's nice.
Perfect. Perfect. So you
Yeah.
walked away with the win from that one, which was good.
Yes. Yeah.
And then your round three was up against kind of going the full opposite, up against Luke with his Zinch, and he had quite a few wizards,
He
from what
did.
I saw. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
what kind of list was he type? What type of Zinch list was he running, and how did that game go?
Yeah. So he had the really beautifully painted army, quite nice, and he was running gaunt summoners, with you know just a lot of change, not Kairos.
Yep.
So he was able to kind of throw a few artifacts on him to make him better. He had the ogre or Dermitage. He had the gaunt summoner on foot. Yeah, lots of like little foot heroes. And then he had two blocks of 10 horrors and some
Mm,
Karak acolytes, and six of those Zangor and Light on disc that move
yeah.
16 inches. It's yeah.
Yeah. That's his big hammer unit. I'm pretty sure. So how did that game go?
Yeah, so he gave me first turn, and then I was able to. I failed. I was hoping to like really just like push on to the objectives early, um, but I failed my killer instinct, and because of that, I wasn't going to be able to really kind of like block him out well enough. So I really just stayed almost. I kind of just went back to where I started from, and then just did my surround and destroy on the sides with a few little cheap units, and just stayed away from him.
Yep.
And because I found my skulls, the hex gorgeous skulls as well.
Oh,
Actually, that
yep.
was the biggest thing. I didn't really want to kind of go into all of his magic kill box straight away.
Mm,
Um, and then so he moved up a little bit and was able to kind of like just get onto the objectives, to kind of complete his first turn, and then so I managed to get priority again into the second. That's when I got the skulls off, and that's when I kind of was able to use some more prayers to move into the hero phase and really push onto the edges of the objectives to kind of like zone him out,
yep.
with the big block of six skull crushers, and he deployed quite centrally as well, like keeping his little castle. So that kind of left one of the far objectives, kind of uncontested for me to just stay on. But he then forgot to pick where the pulse was, and I was able to kind of push onto that, and he was unable to kind of like get me off too too early,
Yep.
with it. So I was able to kind of stay onto that and kind of like pinned him in a little bit, which is
Yeah.
nice. I did kind of allow him to. I almost like pushed up a little bit too far because then he just jumped those Zangor Enlightened all the way over my screen, and kind of managed to charge into my Bloodthirster, who was very, very lucky to survive, because he was definitely putting a lot of spells into him and towards the end of the game. But the Hexgorger Skulls were really good to turn into his turn two, um, as I popped my pouch of Null Dust, and that essentially just stopped him from wanting, or wasn't willing to cast any spells because of the risk of the mortal wound damage, and potentially killing all of his wizards, or heroes, which would have pretty much called the game there. Um, but that kind of gave me an extra turn of surviving some of his magic damage. And then when he finally did get to do some of his spells towards the end of the game, he really needed to kill that Bloodthirster to have a chance of scoring some better battle tactic, some points. And the 5-up spell ignore really saved me in that
Oh,
game.
that's
I
beautiful.
misplayed, and he got Blizzard. He attempted Blizzard twice onto the Bloodthirster. The first time I was able to deny it with some Blood Tithe, and then the
Yeah.
second time I rolled a 5-up to ignore it,
Oh,
and it was I fell for him. It was rough.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's kind of what it that's how the game plays at the moment. Like there are some very paper scissors rock matchups,
yeah,
and sometimes you just come up against you brought paper and you got matched up against scissors. So
yeah,
and
yeah.
I know that is definitely affecting kind of the meta and what people are playing. Like personally, I'm not playing my Seraphon at the moment because I'm
Mm,
too afraid of that Khorne matchup. I know it's going to be rough, and I don't think I've got a list that can kind of still has the damage to push through it without all of the spells that, like you said, you can just ignore on a 5-up, and if you start spending Blood Tithe to increase that as well, you can make it a very painful time for me.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
walked away with the win from that one as well.
Mm,
So 2 wins and a tie is that's not a kind of a bad result from a tournament by any means. So a well deserved second there. So the tournament overall was won by Paddy with 3 wins.
mm.
He went through undefeated. And then third was Jordan with his Blades of Corn as well. Paddy was playing KO. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. And then Elliot, a tournament newcomer with a very pretty winter themed Sylvaneth, picked up. Oh, there we go. Bottom left hand corner of the screen. We've got a picture of all the trophy recipients. But Elliot picked up Best Painted with his Sylvaneth. And you walked away with Best Sports, which for a someone who got on the podium with 2 wins and a tie is an amazing achievement because it's always hard to give someone a fun game when you're actively trying to beat them, and it's even harder to have given someone a fun game when you have objectively beaten them. So what do you think if you had to kind of boil it down to kind of one thing? What do you think was kind of the big reason that people enjoyed playing you so much? Is it just your charming personality? Did you bring a really soft list? Did you let them do all the takebacks and bend the rules? What was it?
Yeah, very, very good question. Because yeah, by all accounts, running Khorne against a lot of wizard armies, yeah, it just doesn't make sense as to
Mm,
how they gave me such nice scores. So um, I don't know. I guess I I love the game and I love to win. But I do enjoy the interactions across the table
mm,
a lot as well. So and like celebrating both my kind of like good roles and also kind of their good roles in that sense as well. So I think it's yeah, like trying to be upfront as well. I guess like at the start of the game. I guess I know Corn has a few potential gotchas, and it is
mm.
hard to remember all of it at some throughout the game. So trying to make sure that every time a hero phase would start, I make sure that just remember the blood type table.
Yeah.
Wouldn't go into too much more detail. Just remember.
Mm.
the bloodbath there. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So just kind of helping them kind of avoid those negative play experiences, those bad interactions that a lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
associate with corn. Like I know I've been caught out by blood tithe before, and it was not a great experience when that happens. But just reminding them, being kind of like you said that bit up front, just being like, hey, just remember I've got three blood tithe. I can do this and this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that obviously went a long way. Do you feel like the kind of the missions and the current season with the battle plans and the battle tactics that are out at the moment, do you feel like that benefits some factions more than others? I know we're kind of getting a little bit off topic for the sports here, but
That's a yeah, very good question. I'm I'm sure it definitely would. I guess with with the whole, if you've got a wizard and you get to go second, you definitely get the extra spell on one of your heroes. Um, that is quite helpful, and I guess it definitely seems to be that if you can score a easy battle tactic in the first turn, if you're given first turn, that kind of goes a long way as well. If it's harder for you to get a battle tactic due to your army makeup or the faction that you're running, it definitely is a bit of an uphill battle.
yeah, okay. And do you think like moving on kind of a little bit deeper on that question of like which armies are kind of strong in the current season type thing, do you feel like the stronger armies are more of a negative play experience for your opponents, or do you think kind of everyone's kind of got the same, like not everyone has the same models and armies, but everyone's kind of got the same rule set that we're all working from, so it's kind of everyone should be being able to bring something that's quite strong to have the kind of the best shot at winning, but also the best shot at enjoying the game.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're definitely. Fortunately, it's not like everyone's running the same kind of faction. I guess there's a fair bit of Khorne and Soul Light kind of going around, but
Mm.
it does seem to be a little bit more diverse. So hopefully, you're not running up against the same kind of army all the time. But I guess it's probably more about like you might know you're going into a bad matchup, but hopefully there's like ways that you can kind of like work around that and not really focusing on what who has what and what you don't have, but more like how you can kind of lean into your style of play as best you can, and having fun along the way, really.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like you said before, like you in your second game against Dave, you used the Hex Scorcher Skulls to just body block and just zone out
Mm.
areas of the board because they weren't going to be useful. So that's using a tool kind of not as it's perfectly intended, but as a way to still get some use out of it and to be able to kind of better compete at the game. So, um, but that is pretty much our time for this evening. Thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Hopefully, I haven't been too intensive with my questioning, but sportsmanship is one of those things that there's some people have just got it figured out, and getting a clean sweep of best sports votes is obviously means that you're one of those people, and it's one of the things that is really hard for people to kind of figure out where they're going wrong
Mm.
with best sports because it is such a subjective thing. Like your opponents might just be having a bad day, so you're not going to get the best sports from them just because they're not enjoying the day anyway. Um, but it's been really good talking with you. Thanks so much for coming on. The next gauntlet is at Wargamers Hub
Mm.
at the end of the month. And you're on the wait list to that, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes, I'm on the wait list. I jumped on a little bit too late.
Yeah.
But I guess it's good that there'll be hopefully then some different people that are able to kind of go and
Mm.
experience what a fun day it can be. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
no,
But,
that's good. Because yeah, I think there's about 8 people on the wait list at the moment. Because this is you
mm,
back at kind of your home turf.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people coming to that, which is I'm really keen for it because there's a lot of people I haven't met before, so it'd be good to meet the new players in the scene and to introduce them to the Gauntlet series. So, but that's pretty much it. So. I'll see everyone in our next video, and hopefully we can get Tom back on again some other time. So, take care. Until next time. Bye.
So yeah.